Imagine waking up, grabbing your phone, opening your investment app and, boom! Bitcoin crashes 40%, 50% overnight. Desperate headlines. People selling everything. Comments on X, Instagram, and TikTok screaming, Bitcoin is dead. And it's exactly in this kind of scenario that the greatest fortunes in history are built, while the majority is running around in panic. And look, if you think this is an exaggeration, let me tell you something. This crash is closer than you think. And today, I'm going to show you, no fluff, exactly the price at which I'm ready to buy everything. Yes, I'm waiting for this drop, and preparing to turn it into one of the biggest opportunities of my life. And if you want to learn how to be part of this game, hit the like button now, because this content is literally gold. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the next videos that could change your financial journey. You know, one thing almost no one notices is that Bitcoin, despite being a disruptive, revolutionary asset with program scarcity, is still a hostage of the same cycle that has taken down markets for decades, the cycle of fear and greed. And if you think, this time it's different, let me tell you a painful but freeing truth, it's never different. In 2013, Bitcoin dropped 85%. In 2017, it fell 84%. And after the 2021 all-time high, it plunged over 70%. And guess what? Every time it drops, everyone says it's over. That it's dead. That it's never coming back. But those who ignore the panic, who understand the cycles, are the ones who make real money. That's why you should stay until the end of this video, because I'm not only going to reveal the price I'm waiting for, I'm also going to show you the exact mindset that can protect and even multiply your wealth when the next drop hits. And look, there's a quote from Warren Buffett that's almost a golden rule for me. Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. And to really understand this in practice, you don't need to be an expert, or know how to read charts, or interpret candles. You just need to understand that the market doesn't move by logic, but by human emotions. Greed, fear, euphoria, despair. That's how it works. And the craziest part is that, even knowing this, most people fall into the same trap. They buy at the top, and sell at the bottom. Because they follow emotions, not strategies. So, if you want to escape this destructive cycle, subscribe to the channel now. Because here I'll teach you how to think like an investor, not like a gambler. Few people realize it, but the biggest enemy, and at the same time, the biggest ally, of Bitcoin in the US has a name, the Federal Reserve. While many are only looking at charts, cycles, and halvings, the smartest investors are keeping their eyes on one thing only, interest rates. Every time the Fed raises rates, it drains money from the system, weakens risk assets, and guess what? Bitcoin is the first one to bleed. But here's the detail amateurs ignore. When the Fed signals cuts, a tsunami of money starts flowing back into the market, boosting not just stocks, but especially scarce assets like Bitcoin. And you know what's even crazier? The biggest Bitcoin rallies in history happened during US interest rate cut cycles. Those who understand this, ride the wave. Those who ignore it, get swallowed by it. Ever since Bitcoin ETFs were approved, the game has never been the same. The average investor still thinks Bitcoin is something for young people, nerds, or anti-establishment rebels. But doesn't realize that behind the scenes, Wall Street is accumulating more than any individual could ever dream of. BlackRock, Fidelity, Vanguard are turning Bitcoin from an alternative asset into an institutional reserve. And here comes the big plot twist. When big institutions want to accumulate, they need the price to fall in the short term. Guess what? They push the price down, create panic in the market, and while you're selling in fear, they're buying everything. This is the dirty, silent game of the sharks. And those who don't understand it become bait. In the United States, reckless spending, the endless chase for credit, and the culture of buy now, pay later have shaped not just the economy, but also investor behavior. And this detail is crucial to understanding Bitcoin's movements. Here, fear of recession fuels panic. When headlines say, tech crash, or Bitcoin collapses, average investors, addicted to instant gratification, liquidate their positions. Meanwhile, real investors are buying. The average American wasn't educated to think long-term. He was programmed to consume. And those who understand this behavioral flaw make money. What few people are talking about is that while you're stressing over Bitcoin's price, regional banks in the US are quietly collapsing. Crises like the Silicon Valley Bank were just the beginning. And you know who's paying attention to this? Those who understand that when trust in banks disappears, the demand for decentralized assets surges. Bitcoin is not just speculation. It's an insurance policy against a financial system that's rotting from within. While the average American rushes to secure his money, those who understand the game rush to accumulate Bitcoin. The whole world is watching, but few truly understand what's going on. The dollar is losing strength. BRICS, bilateral deals, de-dollarization. These are movements that directly threaten American hegemony. And here's the trick. If the dollar weakens, assets that don't depend on governments, like gold, commodities, and especially Bitcoin, skyrocket. That's why, in the middle of this silent monetary war, the smartest Americans are shifting parts of their wealth into Bitcoin. Not as a bet, but as protection. The halving isn't just a technical event that reduces Bitcoin's issuance. It's, above all, a collective psychological trigger. And in the US, where FOMO culture, fear of missing out, is stronger than anywhere else in the world, this effect multiplies. When the halving comes, the fear of missing the next rally pushes retail in hard, usually at the top. But here's the smart money move. Insiders are already accumulating long before, specifically during the dips. Those who buy in euphoria are funding those who bought in fear. While everyone is looking at AI as if it's something separate, the investor who sees beyond understands that artificial intelligence, big tech, and crypto are irreversibly interconnected. The demand for decentralization, privacy, and secure networks will explode with the advancement of AI. And who's leading this movement? Guess what? Blockchain. More specifically, Bitcoin as a reserve asset and foundational security layer. Big tech companies are already integrating blockchain solutions. This isn't the future. This is happening now. And whoever understands this early is going to build wealth. While you're worried about influencer tweets, the largest wealth holders in the US, the family offices, are making silent moves. That money doesn't show up in the headlines. But yes, they are accumulating Bitcoin discreetly. Why? Because they know that in the long-term game, scarce assets always beat inflation, crises, and reckless money printing. If you think these billionaires are playing the same game as retail, then you've understood absolutely nothing. The speech sounds nice. We're going to regulate to protect the investor. But anyone who knows the backstage knows that regulation in the US is often used as a weapon to crash prices, create panic, expel the weak, and let the strong accumulate. Every time the SEC opens an investigation or releases a negative statement, check the chart. The price melts. And what happens next? Silence. And accumulation. Those who understand the regulation game aren't afraid. They wait. And buy into the fear they themselves created. There's a silent movement happening in the United States. Young people, freelancers, digital nomads, and small business owners are simply escaping the traditional financial system. Tired of abusive fees, banking control, financial censorship, and the loss of privacy, they're finding in Bitcoin a way to be free. This isn't just investment. It's financial migration. And those who understand this don't see Bitcoin as a bet, but as independence. You know what very few people consider? The risk of so-called black swan events, unpredictable events with massive impact. And in hyper-connected America, there's a risk hardly anyone talks about, the internet infrastructure itself. Cyber attacks, systemic failures, or digital wars could collapse entire markets. And in that scenario, truly decentralized digital and physical assets are literally insurance policies against chaos. Bitcoin doesn't rely on a central server. And that's exactly what could make it even more valuable in the future. The old American dream was home ownership, a car in the garage, and a peaceful retirement. That dream is dead. The new generation already realized that working 40 years waiting for a retirement that might never come no longer makes sense. The new American dream is freedom. It's earning income from anywhere. It's not depending on banks, governments, or companies. And at the center of this new dream is Bitcoin. Because it's not just an asset. It's a silent declaration of independence. And those who understand this won't just build wealth. They'll build freedom. Now let's talk numbers, because I know that's what you really want. Write this down. The price I've got my eye on, where I'm ready to buy big, is in the $28,000 to $32,000 range. And before you say that's crazy, let me explain why. First, cycles have never changed. Every time Bitcoin hits a new high, it corrects by 40% to 60% before going up again. That's historical. Second, there are on-chain data, moving average analysis, institutional behavior, and even the post-halving effect, all pointing to the fact that yes, a strong correction in this range is not just possible, it's likely. And no, this isn't a prediction, it's not a crystal ball. It's preparation. It's you understanding that you can't control the market, but you can control your strategy. In fact, if this is already making sense to you, smash the like button, because that helps me a lot in continuing to bring you this kind of content. Free, direct, no fluff, no BS. And if you still think crashes mean trouble, let me tell you something that changed my life. Imagine you love a pair of shoes that costs $100. Suddenly, that same pair goes on sale for $50. Would you see it as a good opportunity? Of course. But why, when Bitcoin drops, or when stocks fall, do most people run? Because in most people's minds, low prices mean trouble, not opportunity. And that happens because of lack of knowledge. Because no one taught us in school that crises are periods of wealth transfer. And it always flows out of the pockets of those who panic into the pockets of those who were prepared. That's why, while everyone runs from the crisis, the ones who understand the game are running into it. And look, I'm not saying you should sell your house, take out loans, and go buying like crazy. Far from it. What I'm saying is that you need a plan. You need cash. You need to understand the game before playing it. Because in practice, what separates those who go broke from those who get rich isn't luck. It's discipline. It's vision. And it's you looking at this market with a long-term mindset. And I say this because, man, if you look back, most of today's millionaires were ordinary people who made unpopular decisions back when everyone was screaming that Bitcoin was dead. It's that simple. And if you're enjoying this straight talk, go ahead and drop a comment below. I'm in this game. I want to know who the real people are, the ones ready to change their lives, to learn, to build wealth, while the rest are distracted scrolling through social media. And for you to really get it, keep this quote I carry for life. When the wind isn't blowing in your favor, you don't change the boat. You adjust the sails. And that's exactly what you need to do right now. Adjust your sails. Get ready. Understand that the market doesn't exist to please you. It exists to test your patience, your discipline, and your vision. And let me be very honest with you. No one's going to do this for you. Not the bank, not the government, not that friend who only shows up when there's a problem. It's you, with you. And if you don't position yourself, if you don't study, don't learn, you'll keep living in the same cycle. Hustle, paycheck, bills. Hustle, paycheck, bills. Financial freedom begins the moment you stop waiting for luck and start building a strategy. And if you made it this far, man, you're already in the top 5% of people who truly want to change their lives. That already puts you way ahead of the majority. And now, I want to invite you, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, because in the next video I'll show you, step by step, how I build my smart portfolio to ride out any crisis, starting from zero, without needing a lot of money, and without taking unnecessary risks. And if this content brought you value, don't forget to leave a like, because that helps the channel a lot. And share this video with that friend or person you know needs to hear this. Because in the end, the money game isn't about who gets there fastest. It's about who chooses the right direction and sticks with it consistently. And your financial freedom begins right here. Let's go together.